So we're thumbs up on Philadelphia.
Well, yeah, I just kind of wanted to. I guess maybe the question is like why didn't this Brooklyn super team thing work out? Or why is it that it seemed to work out in other situations, but in this case, theirs didn't seem to work out? So, I mean, I was listening to a lot of different stuff this week. I have a few different ideas. I mean, first of all, Kyrie Irving having a sabbatical last year, you remember that?
Right.
Yeah, that didn't help because they didn't all get to play together. Him not getting vaccinated obviously didn't help. James Harden showing up out of shape 2 years in a row obviously didn't help. So, yeah, there's those things. And then the other thing that I wanted to kind of point out was, because of those things, this thing never got off the ground. I mean, I feel like if they had been able to play together more and had success, Harden might have been more engaged and he might still be there. And we might be saying the Nets should win the championship. They were 13-3 when all three of them played together, but that hardly ever happened, So, but I mean, looking at this and then looking at other super team scenarios and why things don't work, like I think people get kind of I think players get this, they have this inflated sense of, well, I can fix everything, I can make stuff work. And it doesn't always work. The only reason it'll work, for instance, Miami, why did Miami work? They went to the finals 4 years in a row. They won 2 titles. Okay. It worked not just because LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh were really good friends, but they were willing to make sacrifices to make things work. They also went to a place where it had a strong culture already, and they had a good coach, and they could figure out how to get things to work. Plus, Dwayne Wade had already won a championship. Right. It's like with Kevin Durant in Golden State. Okay. They'd already won a championship. They'd been to the finals 2 years in a row. Steve Kerr's a good coach. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are great teammates. Draymond Green, yeah, he's a little nuts, and obviously him and Kevin Durant got into it a little bit. But look, they won 2 titles, and they would have won 3 if not for Kevin Durant tearing his Achilles tendon. Okay, but then you look at other stuff, and other stuff tends to not work because they don't have those relationships. The culture there isn't already established. I mean, Kevin Durant's just like, him and Kyrie are like, all right, where do we want to play? We'll just go to Brooklyn, And Brooklyn had kind of built this nice culture. They made the playoffs. They had some good young pieces. And then they kind of, they brought those 2 in and, it was okay. And then they obviously brought in Harden and they got rid of a bunch of those other pieces. So it's like, well, what are you falling back on? You got a brand new coach, Steve Nash, who we don't know if he's a good coach or not. And also, like you were saying earlier, they're just going to cater to the players. Well, they didn't do that in Miami. Golden State, I don't know. I don't think that there was just like, let the players do whatever they want, but also they didn't have a problem with guys just, doing stupid shit, like taking a sabbatical in the middle of the year or not getting vaccinated so they can't play, So I just thought that was kind of interesting where people were talking about, why didn't this thing get off the ground, and I think people had a lot of different reasons why, but those are just kind of a few things that I was kind of thinking of this week.
Yeah. I think it's about, getting the right guys together. Yes, you need great players, but you got to have the right great players and the right framework to get it to work. It worked in Miami because, like you said, they already had a strong culture, and those 3 guys play both ends of the floor.
Yeah.
And it worked for the Lakers with LeBron and Anthony Davis. It worked, and then they bring in Russell Westbrook this year, and look at that. It's not, and again, it's not Russell Westbrook's fault, but they completely changed the team that they had that had won them the championship.
Yeah, and completely throwing things out and starting over that's really difficult to do. A lot of these, like for instance, with Kobe and Shaq, did Kobe get drafted the same year that they brought in Shaq? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they didn't win a championship for like 4 years. Okay. They had to figure, Kobe had to get better, and they were playing together, and then they'd go to the playoffs and they'd lose. Then finally they get the right coach and they have that experience, all that experience together, and then they win 3 titles. So yeah, I mean, a lot of times that's kind of what you see people like with Golden State. I mean, that's because they had Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and Steph Curry, and they kind of worked. They'd been, getting better and better and making the playoffs, losing in the playoffs, and then finally they win the championship. because they had that experience together. Throwing it together like that, it's not that it can't work. I mean, the Heat almost won their first year. It's not that it can't work, but it is kind of difficult. And the players you have to be willing to, do the right stuff to try to win games.
And listen, from a NBA standpoint, like, look, super teams are great for the NBA.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Either the team wins and they're fantastic because they're so talented, or they completely fall apart, and that's a great story too. So it works out either way. I don't, we'll see how this goes forward in the future, how teams are built, because we see with Brooklyn and we see with the Lakers, the way they tried to do this with the play, letting the players decide some of this stuff didn't work out. So be interesting to see how this moves forward.
That's what I wanted to make was just real quick was, when Durant decided to join up with Kyrie Irving, I think a lot of us were kind of like, dude, really? Like, okay, we'll see. And you've seen what's happened the last couple
So this is kind of one of my takeaways. Like on the, Durant and Kevin Durant and LeBron James were picking all-star teams the other night, and Kevin Durant, they both basically refused to pick James Harden. So Kevin Durant would not pick James Harden. He kept making excuses. I need more size. I need this. I need that. Didn't want to talk about it at all. And then, James Harden ends up on LeBron James's team. Like, my takeaway from this is, like, does Kevin Durant have any awareness as to what's going on around him at all? Because nobody wanted to play with Kyrie Irving. Like, this wasn't like there wasn't a line out the door to go play in Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving. And it's like, you don't know this is what he's like?
Yeah.
Like, you've known him how long? And he played with James Harden, for 4 or 5 years in Oklahoma City. Like, you didn't know what this guy was like either? Like, do you have a clue as to what's going on? Or are you just winging it? It's just kind of, I just feel like some of these players today, like, and LeBron's like talking the Lakers into getting Russell Westbrook. It's like I feel like these guys, they get so good, they're just like, fuck it. Just give me whoever, we'll win anyway. And it's really bizarre. So it's funny, I
think I made this point a few podcasts ago, like, I'm not against players moving around, and they can do that, and they can try to have influence over, the decisions that get made about building a team. But, I almost wonder if LeBron might have won more championships if he'd stayed in one spot. Well, if he'd stayed in one spot, and because what ends up happening is, like, if you look at Kobe's career, right, starts off, they can't get to the finals for a few years, then they win 3 titles, right? Then they miss the finals, then they make the finals, they lose, they trade Shaq, he has a few lean years, and then they win 2 more titles. They're trying to win another one, they couldn't make the finals again, whatever, and it kind of flamed out, and then the rest of his career he didn't, But if you stay in one spot, you can if it's the right spot, you can get you can get a championship window, and then you get some lean years. But then if you've got a team that can make deals and make trades or whatever, then you get maybe back to a championship window and you can win some more. But if you do this thing because if you really look at it, LeBron, like, he goes to a place and then it's in shambles, and then he leaves, and then he goes somewhere else and maybe they win a championship, and then it gets really bad and then he leaves. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, that tends to be what happens when you're trying to win a championship. You end up having some lean years, but if you got the right organization, you can build things back up and get a window again. And it's just kind of like trying to do this microwave thing where you win a title. It can work, but it is kind of difficult, And again, I'm not saying I'm against players moving around, and I understand some of these teams, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So I can understand you wanting to leave, and because it's hard to find the really good situation.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a thing where
listen, if LeBron and Kevin Durant are okay, or they're happy with the situation that they're in, fine, more power to you. But I don't get the Kevin Durant doing this passive aggressive thing where, no, we're best friends, and then all of a sudden he doesn't want to talk about the guy anymore. It's very high school, nonsense, which is ridiculous. So, so I wanted to talk about the media reactions to this.
Okay.
I was utterly shocked, and very, in sports, most of the time, I kind of get it. I'm not usually very surprised. But I was unbelievably shocked at people's reaction, the media's reaction to this, especially ESPN and Stephen A. Smith and a few of these other people, that I'm just dumbfounded by it. Stephen A. Smith went off like, how could you, Philadelphia, you made Brooklyn better. You're trying to beat them. Why would you do that? And it's just like, what do you mean, why did they do it? We know why they did it. Because one guy wasn't going to play for their team anymore. So they're like, all right, let's get some value. So they did. But this idea that, they made Brooklyn exponentially better. That's what he said. They made Brooklyn exponentially better. What? It's like, all right, like, they're better. Since Kevin Durant's out, they're probably better off at least having Ben Simmons on the team. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. But I'm just blown away by that. It's like, I don't understand how they're better. Like, they just lost an MVP type player. How are they better?
Yeah. I don't, yeah. That's
It just blows my mind. And then he killed Daryl Morey for it. It's like, this is the worst move of Daryl Morey's career. It's like, really? Like, this is just
the Russell Westbrook move was pretty bad.
Right. It's like, how is this that bad? Like, we've gone insane on this. Like, oh geez, how could they? And so I disagree with the entire assessment. It's like, I
don't get it.
I've been watching Brooklyn. How would they be better because of this? They got some more role players. Congratulations.
Well, one of the things that was kind of annoying me was a lot of people were in favor of this trade, and they didn't like Brooklyn anyway, right. Which I just thought was weird. It's like, so you don't think they're going to win this way when it's like, no, the only way they can win is to overwhelm people with talent. And you're saying, let's get them less talented, and let's get another flawed player in here, and then we'll be better, and they'll be more of a like, really? Like, it's like, you didn't like them anyway. I just thought, like, and Colin Cowherd just, saying that he liked this trade, and he also liked Ben Simmons going to Golden State. I'm just like, what are you guys talking about? Or you just, I guess you're just trying to say something provocative, but whatever. I just thought that was ridiculous.
Yeah, and so let me get this straight. Brooklyn, who's been a dysfunctional mess the last 2 years, they've got one of their best players in and out and all over the place doing whatever he wants. They're constantly injured and banged up. And the answer for Ben Simmons' career is to go to this team.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
No, Brooklyn needs solid players who have their shit together. You can't just throw Ben Simmons onto this team and go, he'll figure it out. It'll be good for him. Change of scenery, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's not going to be good for him if it's the right culture, if it's the wrong culture. If you're just throwing him out there and say, hey, you figure it out. And by the way, it's hard to play in the NBA when it's like, all right, these two guys are going to have the ball 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Like you expect Ben Simmons to make that adjustment? Good players who've been in the league 10 years have a hard time making that adjustment.
Yes.
So yeah, the media reaction just going off the deep end about this it baffled.
Yeah, there was a lot of. I liked Bill Simmons' podcast because I thought they did a pretty good job covering the thing from all angles and kind of saying, "Oh, I can see I like this and I like this, but also I have questions about this and I have questions about this." And I thought they overall did a good job. But yeah, there was a lot of, especially on ESPN, there was a lot of just like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out. It gives us something to talk about. That is kind of interesting. And I for Philadelphia, look, if Harden's able to play at a good level, like they're a pretty damn good team. They can make the Eastern Conference Finals, so that could be fun. Like seeing them play like Milwaukee, that'd be cool. I'd be up for that.
Yeah, the one good thing I will say about this is it cleared up a lot of stuff now. We don't have all of these questions that are hanging over our heads. So now it's like that we've kind of reset everything. So now the playoffs, we're ready to go. So it kind of helped because, to be honest, this NBA season kind of sucked.
Yeah.
So